Welcome. This is the August 19th meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals. I'd like to start the meeting by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight's decision will be published in the Record Journal on Friday, August 23rd, 2019. The effective date of your variance will be Friday, August 23rd, 2019. The date a certified copy is recorded on the land records. The statutory 15-day appeal period will expire on Sunday, September 8th, 2019. If you commence operations and/or construction during the appeal period, you do so at your own risk. First hearing is 19-016, variance request, side yard, front yard, building coverage for Matthias at 32 Parkview. Madam Secretary, do you have any correspondence?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have staff notes. Application continued from July 15, 2019, in order for applicant to submit plans and elevations with regard to extent of requested setback variances with the proposed vertical addition to the dwelling. Applicant is seeking 4 variances: side yard of 11.81 feet and side yard of 10.37 feet where 20 feet is required, front yard of 19.01 feet where 40 feet is required, and building coverage of 19.1% where maximum 15% is permitted in order to construct attached garage, front porch, house addition, and second-story vertical addition at 32 Parkview Road in R18 district. Submitted building plans dated August 9, 2019 conflict with proposed plot plan regarding the existing 16-foot by 13-foot portion of existing garage. Application based on removal of the 16-foot by 13-foot existing garage portion in order to correlate with building coverage. Conditions of any approval must include removal of existing 16-foot by 13-foot portion of existing garage and pergola as per proposed plot plan by Stonewall Boundaries LLC, revised June 16, 2019. Additional condition of approval. Comments of the Water and Sewer Division dated July 3, 2019. This is a large request to vary numerous regulations in order to create 150% more living space and a dwelling much larger and not in keeping with the neighborhood. The board should consider any options to at least reduce any requested variances. For example, building coverage and front yard setback requests can both be reduced by eliminating the covered front porch and removing the extra 2 feet forward of proposed garage. Building coverage requests can be reduced to 16.5% from 19.1%, and front setback can be reduced to 25 feet existing from 19.01 feet requested. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for coming back.
Our pleasure.
Names and address for the record, please.
Sure. Alicia Matthias.
Anthony Matthias, 32 Parkview Road, Wallingford.
Thank you.
And Paul Buckley Reynolds, representing them from Stonewall Boundaries, 806 Drive.
You've got the floor. Go ahead.
How about those Mets? I have to say, they're playing great. So I made a revision today just to show the building envelope for the property, so you can get a better feel for that. So I put that on the plan today. That's the only change we made. Those are the things. So I don't know how much we want to rehash from last week, but
You can do a quick, I don't know, everybody's pretty fresh with this, right, from last month? So, I mean, if you want to just give it a quick overview.
okay. Again, the main argument is that it's in a zone R18 zone, and as you can see by the building envelope on the plan, the existing house is already not even close to being in that building envelope. It's already significantly removed from it, so it's very difficult to even add on a small addition to this, let alone anything to update the structure. The client is simply looking to add to it so that they can pursue their constitutional obligations for their pursuit of happiness and to stay in Wallingford. As you saw last month, they have 3 beautiful girls. The front porch is so that they can keep an eye on those girls as they're riding around in the neighborhood and be a presence in the neighborhood. in the front of the house, to be outside as a family. If this house was in an R9 zone, the maximum building coverage, that 15%, what they have for a current footprint right now is 1405, very reasonable. And what they're looking to do is, again, very reasonably, just move up to a footprint of 1,722 square foot. That's a pretty adequate footprint for a modern American family, I would think. They also have letters from each of the side neighbors who have no problem with this proposal that is in front of you.
Thank you. I see you got changed the look of the house just a little bit. I did a drive-through today of the neighborhood, and I just, one question, if you were allowed for the variance, you're going to do something to, because the house to the left of you is down, the grade is down lower, you're going to do something to maintain, make sure silt fence and all that other, to make sure they don't get extra water, correct?
Yes, definitely.
Gutters and leaders that run off
Yeah,
away from their
they already have a
property.
leader that goes, as we said last time, the other problem with this lot was the grade of the lot, how quickly it drops back. And on the plan, you'll see a dotted line, which is the top of slope before that significant drop off. And as you see on the rear left, there's already a drain over which drops into the rear. And that, again, would be used.
Okay.
Not on that side. There's a Anthony, Matthias. The drain on the back of the garage, when we had the new gutters put on the house 2 years ago now, that back gutter was an existing oak gutter that was original to the structure, and it wasn't doing anything. So when they put the new gutter on, Dan and Muriel, our neighbors to the left of us, pointed out that it was starting to erode, so I put a small, not a catch basin, but a receptacle, and then trenched out so that that water would be diverted to the back of my yard for the trees and bushes and stuff that are back there.
Okay, I mean, you're on a hill, water runs downhill, but still at the same time, you don't want to make it any worse than it already is. Now, you guys do have, in all this, the paperwork that comes from the water department with all the regulations now
Yes.
that they want sewer laterals marked out and all that, and then they're gonna also want to come and inspect because make sure that you're not draining into the sewer system, so you're aware of all
Yeah,
that.
they've been to
Yeah.
the house twice already.
We've had
Okay.
them out, yes.
Okay. All right, no problem, just double checking with that. Has anybody got any questions for the applicant? Mrs. Stocka, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of the suggestions from the staff was that
The pergola.
that the pergola and the garage are removed. It looks like from this they are, but
The garage is definitely removed,
Okay.
and that's also because it's not a stable structure, so it really is going to have to be replaced in general. And then the pergola, when we had that approved and built with the town 12 years ago.
14.
Or 14 years
14
ago.
years ago.
It is flush with the home. So when we do go to build, it has to go no matter what. It's in the way, and it wouldn't fit into the new footprint.
okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Anybody else got any questions? Is anybody here to speak in favor of the application? Anybody here to speak against the application? You have anything further you want to add?
No, based on the comments about the building plans that were submitted, those were in here that they showed that it was going into
Right.
into the back area. It was never their intention
Correct.
putting that there.
Oh,
I apologize, I have one
no?
more.
Go ahead. No?
It looks like last month I had written, it looks like on the original application, you had had, the proposed was 11.81 feet, and then it looks like I wrote in 9.61. Is that,
Yeah, the
Correct.
side setback, the existing structure is 9.61 feet away from the sideline. So I guess what we're looking for is 9.61 since the addition is going up on that.
okay, yeah.
We're
that's-
not getting any closer to the lines at all.
The only closer to line is over here, and that's to the side setback, that's three-quarters of an inch closer.
Well, there's two measurements. There's a measurement in the front for the porch, that's 11.81, and the closest one, though, is the one we're gonna be worried about, is the
Yes.
9.61.
And that's the existing house, and
Right.
you're adding on.
Right, that's the closest
So
one.
this one doesn't even need to be mentioned, that's on there?
I wouldn't think so, that's the porch, and that one's further
Okay.
away, so,
Okay.
I mean,
So it would be 9.61 on that right side, it'd be 10.37 on the left side, and the front would be 19.01.
Right, okay, that's what I have, and then on here, see where there was the 9.61, it's 11.8, and then,
Yeah, 9.6.
9.61.
11.81 was to the porch.
okay, thank you. I wanted to make sure that was clear.
Yeah, look, if I may make a point of
Yeah.
Go ahead.
order, Mr. Chair. We need to be very careful about that, because I believe the legal notice requested 11.81, because at that time, we weren't aware there was a two-second story. So we do need,
you need the
Nine.
second, you need both.
you need to first of all amend perhaps their request, and then this is why we need to use the words minimum and maximum, which we'll get to later. It would be very particular about a motion, so that at its minimum, the side variance 9.61, if you're making a motion, per note the plans. Because the second story now makes
Yeah.
that in question. The front
Yeah.
porch we thought was the closest, because that was the only addition until we got to
I
this.
think we always had on the table 9.61.
Yeah, so just
So, but then we're gonna go with the 9.61 if it is.
at its minimum, and with the statement at its minimum.
At its
point.
minimum.
So
So we're
it
not,
doesn't-
still again, we're not worried about the 11.81 because that's not the closest number.
Yeah, either use the, if we include the words at its minimum or at its maximum, that will clarify that, its closest point. It's that distance.
Does everybody understand that? We're making motions if there's a motion made?
Yeah, I just want to make sure, we're clear. So the side setback, we've got two different sets of numbers here.
Right, so you're gonna use the 9.61, but at the minimum.
Got it, okay.
That's the new terminology they want to use.
Okay.
All right, so, anybody got any further questions on this before we go forward? Everybody's good? You guys are all good? I'm gonna close the public hearing and open up for discussion and possible action by the board.
Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion, actually, just a...
We're gonna do three separate,
Yes.
if there's motions, we have
Just a
to
quick
three
question,
separate.
did we need to open it to the public to speak?
No, I already
You
did.
did, okay.
Yeah,
All
it's
right,
already
perfect.
closed.
Just want to make sure, okay. All right, so then I will make a motion that we approve the side yard setback of a minimum of 9.61 feet, where 20 feet is required and 10.37 feet exists.
We're 9.61 feet. Exists.
Yeah, it's the 9.61, it's what it is, and that's what it's gonna stay.
Okay, so let me amend that motion. So I'll make a motion that we approve the side yard setback of 9.61 feet, where 20 feet is required and 9.61 feet exists.
That sounds correct.
Second. Second.
Okay, motion to approve Mr. Carmody,
Yes.
Mr. Wolfer,
Yes to approve.
Mr. Rice,
Yes.
Ms. Tata,
Yes.
Mr. Zerwinski. Oh, is he
No.
voting? No.
No.
Okay, Chair
Um,
Ruzek. Okay,
yes, I'm sorry.
Yes. Chair Ruzek?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, yes.
So then do we have a second side yard setback here?
Right.
Okay. So I will also make a motion we approve a side yard setback of 10.37 feet, where 20 feet is required and 10.43 feet exists.
At a minimum, if you want you to add that.
Oh, so proposed minimum of 10.37 feet, where 10.43 feet exists.
Second.
A motion to approve the side yard setback, Mr. Carmody,
Yes.
Mr. Wolfer,
Yes.
Ms. Tata,
Yes.
Mr. Rice,
Yes.
Chair Ruzek.
Yes.
And I will also make a motion to approve the front yard setback of 19.01 feet, where 40 feet is required and 25 feet exists.
Second.
Okay, motion to approve Mr. Carmody,
Yes.
Mr. Wolfer,
Yes to approve.
Ms. Tata,
Yes.
Mr. Rice,
Yes.
Chair Ruzek.
Yes, your variance has been approved. Good luck.
One more.
Oh,
One more?
I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
one more.
I got excited, sorry.
So did I.
Make one more motion that we approve
What is this
the
one?
coverage of 19.1%, where 15% is required and 15.6% exists.
Second.
Motion to approve front yard coverage, Mr. Carmody.
Yes.
Mr. Wolfram.
Yes, to approve.
Ms. Tata.
Yes.
Mr. Rice.
Yes.
Chair Ruzek.
Yes. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Congratulations.
Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
you.
And enjoy your rest of your summer.
Yeah, we try. Next application is 19-022, variance request for front yard setback for Rizzo at 1086 Clintonville Road. Madam Secretary, do we have any correspondence?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, we have staff notes. Applicant seeks front yard variance to construct 22-foot by 27-foot vertical addition to rear of dwelling at 1086 Clintonville Road in the RU80 district. As the entire dwelling is within front yard setback and therefore non-conforming, predating the inception of zoning and subsequent variances for additions, the calculation for requested and existing front setbacks is confusing and erroneous. Applicant seeks a far lesser setback request than the application reflects. Any motion should reflect exact and correct existing and proposed setbacks. Application seeks a plus or minus 42.3 foot front yard setback, where 20.7 feet exists at minimum. Suggested condition of approval, comments of the health department received 8/9/19. And we also have that correspondence from the health department dated August 9th, 2019. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Good evening. Please state your name and address for the record.
Edward Hilbert Jr. I'm the owner, resident.
Sir, can you spell your last name?
Hilbert
Okay, thank you.
Jr. 1086 Clintonville Road.
Please explain your application.
We're looking to build up and put on a master bedroom at a fourth with a master bathroom and walk-in closet. Just space between the Mr. Rizzo gave you, I guess you have everything. He said he's going to try to make it here, but we're building up. It's not going out. We have a space between the two-level original house and the garage, and we're just basically fitting right in the area between the two.
Okay. Okay, so it's pretty much just a straight-up addition.
Straight up addition, yeah.
Okay. And you understand what the health department here is looking for to fill out looks like a B100A application and submit to the health department. It's all, and it must also submit a recent septic tank pump out report.
Okay. I wasn't familiar with that, but
So you'd have to get a hold of the health department and
okay,
ask
that's
them
fine.
what
We
they
just
want.
been in the house 2 years, and everything was done, and it's a brand new septic and brand new well that was put in the house in 2015.
Okay.
Before we bought the house.
Okay. Well, you need to contact them, and that'll be part of the,
Okay.
if there is an approval on it.
Okay.
This will be part of the minutes.
Okay.
So you'll have to go and see them and get that approval and submit that all.
Okay.
Just a question, Amy, does that get submitted to you guys or the health department?
The health department, that's why I sort of as a matter of course, as we'll discuss later, but noted in each of the staff comments for each of these, we'll include it as conditions, just comments per
Okay.
health department or water and sewer or what have you, because
Yep.
that would be a matter of course, depending on what your service is. So, and that
Okay.
will go through the building department, but again, the variance, if it be granted, would be granted
With this condition?
with that condition, correct?
Okay, so that also, for anybody gonna make a motion, we're gonna have to add that from the health department that they're looking for. Okay. Has anybody got any questions for the applicant? Mrs.
I
Top?
have a question for staff, actually. I noticed in the notes, it looks like the measurements are potentially off, so do we want to change the, if we were to make a motion, should we be changing what the request is or the proposal is?
As we did before, in this particular case, the measurements were in the applicant's favor. It's sort of a tricky one. So therefore, I mean, it's in question if we approve more than what somebody is requesting and we notified for, as we just did. But in this case, it's much less. So to be specific, and if we reference the plan, always just reference the plan that you're going along with, whatever measurement. There's a date on the plan, who did it, as per this plan, and your measurement, that will suffice. they were asking originally for 10 feet, and it's really, they're 43 feet.
Right, because I have on here 10.7.
Right.
So that's not,
Because what they were doing was, because this is a tricky one, if I may, the entire home is constructed in the front setback.
okay.
So therefore, they took the boundary from the street line or what have you as
to
the
the-
setback, but the addition doesn't actually start till 42 feet further back. The new part, if you will. So that's what their request is, not to re-approve the house being in the setback, but just the new portion of it. And that's where the amended numbers came from.
So then would you be okay then if we said, if we approved, I mean, on the application it's 10.7 feet, but it looks like it would actually be,
It's as per the comments, let me.
20. So
42.3 foot front yard setback, where 20.7 exists.
42 point what?
42.
That's what they're seeking. They need, and they need a 75-foot setback, that's the thing, the whole house is in it, so.
So basically, I guess what he did was measure from the front yard to where the addition would actually start behind the second. Is that what?
I'm not quite
That's
sure
what
where
it
he
sounds.
came
That's
up
what
with
it
it.
sounds.
Egypt,
Sounds like.
basically.
That's what it sounds like. Is he basically was including the front of the house that's already sitting there and was starting from the back of the two-level house to where the addition starts. That would be my guess, but.
So if we said 42.3 feet as the approval, that would be okay with you? I mean, that's the number that you're looking for?
That should be okay, because that's where, I believe, what we're looking at is that's where the back of the house is, where the addition's going, from the road.
Per your plan, your
Yeah.
submitted plans demonstrate a 42.3 foot setback, not a
Yeah.
You can do
10.7. So,
as plans received on July 10th, 2019.
yeah, and that's what it demonstrates, is that the calculation was off, I'm not quite sure where it came from, but it was so much lesser that you're asking for that that's an easy fix, but we want to be specific.
Thank you. Plan,
July 10th?
July 10th, 2019.
I'll just, because there's so much involved here. And you got to attach the health requirements,
That statement,
the notes.
the comments, health department comments. Okay, everybody, any more questions? We're ready to go? Anybody got any, is anybody here to speak in favor of the application? Anybody here to speak against the application? Hearing none, do you have anything further you'd like to add?
I'm all set.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to close the public hearing and open up for discussion and possible action by the board.
I'll give this a try. Make a motion to approve the front yard variance of 42.3 feet where 75 feet is required. And should I add on the health department?
Yes.
At this point?
Comments and per the plans.
And also add on the requirements that were noted
In the health.
by the health department, July 10th,
Well, no, that's August 2nd.
August 2nd.
And then you want to add the, also the setback by his plans on July 10th, 2019.
Okay. Do you have that all?
Yeah.
Second.
A motion to approve the front yard variance, Mr. Carmody?
Yes.
Mr. Wolfer?
Yes, to approve.
Ms. Tata?
Yes.
Mr. Rice?
Yes.
Chair Ruzek?
Yes, your application's been approved.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all. Next up is application 19-023, variance for Eckert, for a side yard at 13 feet where 20 is required to construct an attached garage at 14 Sullivan Road in an R18 district. Madam Secretary, do we have any correspondence?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have staff notes. Applicant seeks side yard setback of 13 feet where 20 feet is required and 37.49 feet exists in order to construct a 25-foot by 30-foot attached garage at 14 Sullivan Road in an R18 district. Applicant will be providing plans with elevations to demonstrate single-story height. Suggested condition of approval, comments of the Water and Sewer Department dated July 3rd, 2019. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Welcome. Please state your name and address for the record.
Chris Eckert, I live at 14 Sullivan Road, Wallingford, Connecticut.
And I'm Erica Galgo Eckert, same address.
Can you spell your Erica?
E-R-I-C-A.
Okay, thank you.
Could you please explain your application?
We're basically looking to put up a two-car garage attached to the house. Our house does not have one at the moment. Everybody else on the street gets to have one. And from my knowledge, our property was built before zoning came into play by like 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
Basically looking to put it attached to the house because my wife has medical issues and not supposed to be out in the cold any longer than she has to be, so cleaning off the cars kind of don't help much. Just need room for storage and everything else. I mean,
I understand, believe me. And they're never big, they're never big enough. Just that, I'll put that in there.
and I have none to begin with, so.
There's none there.
You'll fill it up quick, believe me. So, in all this, you guys got the paperwork from the water department and the health department. The health department states 14 Sullivan Road property has public water and tied into sewers, no further. So you don't need anything to do with the health department, but the water, they're looking to make sure that they have where your sewer lateral is and all that.
It should have been on his.
Okay, you have to check with them.
And then I know all my water lines come in on the opposite side of the house.
Okay.
And all my drainage for the house goes out the opposite side of the house.
Okay, and they're gonna wanna come and check to make sure your gutter leaders aren't going into the storm sewer.
Yeah, no,
I
they're
mean,
all running.
into the sewer and sanitary sewer, excuse me.
Yeah, they're running all
So they're gonna want an inspection on all that, so.
Okay.
It's town ordinance 577 with that, but, so that's also part of your, if there is an approval, you're gonna have to make sure that gets done also.
Okay.
Okay? Anybody got any questions for the applicant? Seeing none, does anybody here speak in favor of the application? Anybody here speak against the application? Seeing none, hearing none, do you have anything further you'd like to add?
The other thing is, I mean, I have a note from the neighbor that the garage is going on,
I think they have
Yeah, we
copies.
have.
saying that she's fine with it too. Other than that, no.
Yeah. Hearing none, seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing, open it up for discussion and possible action by the board.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the side yard of 13 feet where 20 feet is required and 37.49 feet exists.
Second.
Motion to approve side yard variance, Mr. Carmody.
Yes.
Mr. Wolfer.
Yes, to approve.
Ms. Tata.
Yes.
Mr. Rice.
Yes.
Chair Rosette.
Yes, the application is approved.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So next is the motion to accept the minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I actually have a couple corrections on the minutes. if you
Oh,
don't
good,
mind.
go ahead. Somebody actually read them.
I did. So I can give you these later if you want, but just.
No, go ahead.
On page 8,
Yeah.
it's about halfway down, one of the things that said, Ms. Tatis, to have a plan, I believe was to have an architectural plan.
Okay.
Just to make that clear.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then, yeah, I saw that. And then on page 10, the next page, the second paragraph, where it says, and noted she would then have to make a motion to deny. I think we can just take that out. I think what I was saying was I was afraid if people wanted to postpone, it could get denied. So
Oh, okay, all right.
I can hand these to you later, but as long as the process is okay.
Yeah, go take it.
Then I would make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Is everybody good with that?
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, before I go into the discussion, I would like to thank Cynthia for all her years of putting up with us and trying to keep up with what we have to say. She's retiring. I thank her. Tom is the longest one on the board, but I thank her as chairman, and I appreciate her effort in being here. Thank you very
Oh, I
much, and
enjoyed it.
enjoy retirement. And
Who's your replacement?
What?
Did they find a replacement for it?
I don't know. I told them I'd do it in an emergency, but it, you know, I'm
I
not.
guess we'll
I'm not-
find out next
And
week.
There is no
wanted to take
replacement for it.
Christina got, she was the one that thought about it, got
Thank
your
you.
card.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
I really appreciate it.
So, next, I had called Amy and requested, and I know she's got some stuff she wants to add, but I'm gonna take the floor first. I'd like to discuss as a board and commission, and after last month's meeting, I left here very aggravated, and one of the things is, and it's, you know, sometimes we get sloppy, and, but I think we need to make a decision on a couple things, and one of them is last month we had, our first application, they had very little for plans, and then the office, planning office is requesting plans. Sometimes we get them, sometimes we don't, depends on the applicant. And then a couple applications later last month, all of a sudden we had plans, and personally I felt they weren't adequate. But I'd like to get some where we're getting everything the same, and I'd like to hear what everybody else has to say. I don't know, Amy, I had just mentioned it to her when I had talked to her, and I know she's in agreement with that. She's like to get everything in order. But I have one question before we go to here. Amy, if we request that there are architectural plans, or you know, I know not everybody's going to have an architectural drawing, but at least a drawing of what they're going to make that we're going to add to the minutes, their application, so that if something gets done different, we at least have something, a drawing or whatever. And that gets handed into you, and it's not, say, I know you're not there full-time, so if they come and drop off their plans and you're not there, and do you review everything before, how does that work? You review everything before it's handed to us for previous meeting, right?
Yes, and then that, what you're saying, I'm going to build, everything I have to say is exactly, and will answer the questions you raise now too. We're right on the same page.
Okay.
You know, sort of procedure. So procedurally, folks will submit their materials.
Mm-hmm.
What happens to be happening lately, so that can't happen as well as I'd like, is folks are coming in under the deadline when I'm not there.
Okay.
On purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Because I will have a conversation at the counter and kind of review what they've got and say,
Yeah.
you know, you might want to consider this or consider that, or they'll say, what do you think they're going to do? And I'm like, well, it's their decision, but, you know, you really gotta, can you do this? And, you know, give them some food for thought. And then up till now, there has been some times where folks have, and especially when there's multiple variances, absolutely, you better be very, very detailed, because that almost becomes a blanket to do whatever the heck I want.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why it was really adhered to with, and we'll talk further about that one later. But I will have this discussion, go over plans with them. If I do not have that opportunity, because they have a right to submit.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of it's a little coincidental that they're coming in on Fridays at like 10:05, when that's the cutoff to submit for the next month. So they're in, and at a later date, unfortunately, I'll review, and if I, like this gentleman tonight with the 42.3, as I was going over it, I'm going, wait a minute, you're like asking for this, and you only need this, you know?
Yeah.
So actually it was favorable to him, and the builder happened to come into the building department for another matter, like karma or magic or something, and I saw him, and I said, oh good, you saved me a phone call. So I will have these preliminary conversations, and please give more, as in this last couple this evening with the garage.
Mm-hmm.
Ask them for plans. Unfortunately, she just brought them to me today. She said, oh no, we've been working on them, so you got them submitted tonight. But there is an attempt at the front side to have a complete package, and it doesn't always happen, and I don't always get a response, or whose left hand isn't talking to
So
right.
what's the fix? Because again, I mean, and I'm going to be honest, you know, we've approved some without any, you know, just by word of, yeah, I agree, this is what I'm going to do. But so what I would like, and like I said, I'm going to open it up in a minute to everybody else and let them have their say, because I feel everybody, we're a team. What I would like is, before they're even allowed to come here, I don't know if it's feasible, but even before they're allowed to come here, that, you all the correct paperwork is handed in, or they aren't allowed to come in front of us. Because last month's meeting, I think everybody was frustrated over last month's meeting. And I just would like to not have that happen again. And if people are going to come forward with things, that has to be part of your application. If you're going to, here's your list of stuff to do your application for your variance. And one of them is a submitted plan. And without that, it's not going to be, you're not going to be on the agenda. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that's feasible. I don't know what you're...
It's not really feasible, it's legal. They have to have that or it's an
So
incomplete
then
application.
how are they getting to us without it?
Good question. So, and I have some suggestions for different things on that. There's been a history, there's been a lot of evolution of staff, board, and also, I'm only speaking our iterations here. That was attempted a bazillion times to get the information. And it was, and things were submitted that contradicted the last submit, that particular application that was last month, that was continued till now. And particularly because we've denied the exact same thing. So right now, I don't know if that's legal. I do have to honestly check because we just approved more than we legally posted they were requesting. Lesser we can always approve. If anybody wants to lessen what they're asking for, is always, that's, so plan-wise, we remembered we had a Doris Street issue. We also had a Russell Street, very similar neighborhood, same zone, same houses, and the same amount.
We can't even talk about Doris Street. And I'm going to just stop right there on Doris Street because that's something we denied. That's not something we approved. That's something we denied.
That's correct.
Let's not even go there about talking about legal issues.
I'm not talking about Doris Street. There was a Russell Street in the same neighborhood following that we denied, correct. But if those individuals who had the denial for the very same thing were to appeal this, we would lose.
Well, we'll let the legal experts decide that. I think none of us are lawyers up here.
No. And so there's the consistencies on all ends of the submissions, the applications, the motions, I think are in order all the way around. That's why I said we're on the same page. If we have a consistent
So how do we get to the consistency of getting to make sure before they get here, we have all the correct paperwork? That's what I want to get to.
Number one. That's where I have a bulleted list of some ideas here. And consistency was one of them. So we did that is in process as well as in, it's not meant to address decisions. It means consistent in process in the way we apply the rules. And that is my job as your staff, to support you, not to be contrary to you. It's to offer those things that legally we have to abide by, notification times, legal notices, what an application contains. You will not have an application in front of you that is incomplete, that is, you cannot hear that. And you are absolutely correct that to date, certain things didn't require it. I'm in agreement with you. I think certain things shouldn't, but again, in the name of consistency, if we're going to require it, for one thing, especially when somebody comes for the grocery cart full of variances, I want every rule to be varied for me. We really need to be very particular, and that's, if I may, just on the other side, as we kind of interject a little bit tonight with, that might be helpful, is so we don't have any gray area, and we're all clear, is to reference the plan we're talking about in our motion. So it's not a blanket, I get a 3-foot setback. I get a 3-foot setback per that plan or that plot plan at its minimum or at its maximum. Also says I don't get that straight across. What you have in front of you for next month is one of those cases where that argument was proposed. We're not going for it, but it's a variance you already heard and we approved. But it was for the sort of the short corner, if you will, a setback. And the applicant was saying, oh, no, I get that all the way across my front yard. That's what they approved. So in order to sort of if we just insert the words at minimum or at maximum, it implies, and it's very straightforward and very defensible, that it's only as you propose it on this plan in that spot, if you will.
Okay.
So on that, so all this being said, so the plans, I'm in agreement. We have not required them for a detached garage, pretty straightforward, footprint's adequate, everybody gets 15 feet, it's gonna have to adhere to that for height.
But that's
So
not,
we're-
that's not true either, because I know that people get confused, and it's 15 feet midway.
Correct.
It's not 15 feet peak. So that's something I've heard kind of thrown around here, and, when they go to the building department to get their permit, they get all that stuff, so it's pretty much when they get there, but that's,
But meaning
we're not the
plans.
building department.
No, but I mean plans, we haven't, it's pretty straightforward. I'm building a garage of 600 square feet and, that it's gonna kind of look how we expect it to look. But there is a huge difference, and this one tonight was very different than what I anticipated when I saw the plan.
So, I mean,
Because it does make a difference.
is there a way that we, God bless you.
Thank you.
Is there a way that we can make it a requirement that plans have to be submitted with their application?
Which is what I've been working toward now, yes,
Okay.
absolutely. As the
I mean,
they were late, but I was saying I need, you have to give
And I
us
understand
this.
there's gonna be some that slip through, we're not gonna get them all.
And they don't have to be fancy or architectural,
No,
just,
but just something, a drawing with, so we can
rendering.
look at that and agree, and kind of agree. Lou, go ahead, I'm sorry.
So, excuse me if this already happens,
No.
but, so if someone submits a plan, before the cutoff, and then they submit amendments to a plan, could there be some sort of, line in the sand as far as when they can submit these amendments, or it gets pushed back to the next month? So it kind of puts the onus on them to make sure that all the revisions are in before it comes before us?
It certainly could be a request. And the way I present it to folks is sort of just like, look, you want to paint the picture to somebody who's getting this in the mail or off-site, you're going to have a chance to present your case, but you want your package, if you will, your application package, to be able to demonstrate exactly what you're doing to the board.
Right.
So the more you can give, the better. So
by
if you're
doing that,
getting
you put the
something without
onus
being
back
able to
on
review
them.
it,
That way, the complete package has to be there.
Right.
Or if they come before us, we're working on the plan that was submitted, not the amendment, at the last minute.
that's correct. And thus, again, sort of to be careful about what we're referencing, when we reference a plan that we're approving, so you can reference that revision date,
Right.
revised to, on both sides.
Right.
And sometimes I can't require that, unfortunately, that's the thing, it is a complete application, but they maybe make a modification to it, and then they wait, these folks tonight just submitted last
So there's
week,
no way to require.
after 5 weeks.
There's no way to require all modifications be submitted prior to them being heard.
If I have the opportunity upon grabbing, I have to sort of appeal to folks wanting to present their best case, if you will. The more you can give, the more accurate demonstration of what you're asking for. You're asking for rules to be broken, in essence, or varied for you. So you really should, and the hardship we can't help them with. And that's always, when I have the opportunity to speak with them, and again, some reason, one can surmise all they want, they're kind of slipped in deliberately when I'm not there. I'm like, so now they're in there, and Friday before a meeting, so Friday is a cutoff for you to get receipts that I bring here this evening. So when they come in at 5:05 Friday, I come in Monday morning, and there they are.
Can you change the cutoff?
I don't know legally if we can. It's an interesting question. I can raise it, but I don't know how much control we say you have to. They have a right to present. They have a right to wait until they get here. You also have a right to say we don't have ample information to make a determination, and you would like to wait. As we did in this case. So I would like to wait for some more, but I don't know how much teeth there is to say you have to have it by a certain date, because if they have adequate to consider it complete, then it's complete.
There was a time back when the planning office didn't require an A2 survey.
Right.
And now they do. So what did they have to do to get that we would have to ask for something, some sort of drawing on their application.
Well, was to include the plans, and that's going to be a requirement. And again, a lot of folks will sort of, when they inquire about some possibilities of what they could do, or they're thinking about this, or I want to put a garage on, how do I go about it? That's always part of what I include, and I always don't get benefit of that conversation. To say, first thing you got to do is you got to go get a survey. That'll locate it. But again, that doesn't tell us, and that's how we fell upon, or I fell upon, the Parkview. Because originally you have this footprint on a map. I want to build an addition to my garage. It wasn't until one of the neighbor's letters that I read. So it was a complete application. The neighbor's letter that I read said, I have no problem with their second story. I went, second story? You know, because now there's a very different thing, whether we agree with it or not, from somebody having something close to you that's 15 feet high versus 30. That is an important piece to evaluate. So it's a wall versus a, you know.
And that goes back to having some sort of drawing.
Right, so the drawings, especially in the case, so yes, you are right, it's sort of inconsistent, but it's always been required when there's sort of a handbasket full of numerous variances. That's
I know it's back to, it's been kind of, you know, haphazardly required. I'm looking for it to be part of the application process.
And I will do what I can if like sort of my own cutoff, like I don't know, legally again, but make a quicker turnaround for those materials that aren't there to say, I need them, and sort of nudge them into, you know, you have to have it in time for pocket.
I think Sam.
No, you brought up the fact that, you know, the A2 surveys are required. Is that a regulation that was put in?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So we
would have to go to the, so we'd have to get the planning and zoning maybe? Is that? Or the legal
What
department?
it is, the technicality, it's a zoning requirement for the survey. It started in 2009, but it's a requirement to pull a building permit, because actually technically the building official is zoning enforcement. So you can tell by your survey, because back in the day, it was, you know, my fence, that tree's mine, and our neighbor doesn't care, and it's 6 feet away, and, you know, it's all good. But you know what rolls downhill, and the problems later. So now, you know, seeing it that A2 can really locate things properly. That's the first thing I also tell them when they want to submit, or what do I have to do to go for well, first thing you need to do is you need to have your property surveyed. You need your existing structures to be located on that survey, and then the rules regarding it. So, but that is it's a requirement to actually pull a building permit, a zoning requirement to pull it. That's where the language is in the regulations.
So just in terms of renderings for applicants before our board, I mean, I think it's pretty arbitrary, right? They're really, I mean, the rules are made up as on a case-by-case basis.
No, well, no, they're not made up. They should be included. I mean, again.
Well, they're not included, so.
That's what we're trying to resolve, exactly. And perhaps at that, like I said, my contribution to that could be those slip-ins when I'm not there, maybe not the last minute ones, but you know, at an earlier date can sort of get on the folks to say you need some more pieces, but I don't know that I can call it incomplete.
Rule, I mean,
well, that's what
especially when you're here all the time, I mean, it would be nice if we could put
and that's
something
what I
on the
was,
books.
right, that's what I was asking.
So I can certainly investigate that avenue, how we would get it sort of as part of the protocol, if you will. If it goes through planning and zoning, if it's
and then
actually in the regulations that it says that, absolutely, there's something certainly to look to make it consistent. In the meantime, I can do my part to sort of prompt it to happen sooner and consistent, which since these things have happened. And typically, you're absolutely correct. Usually it was, you know, you want to sort of reconfigure the whole house and add 5 stories and go out the back and add a room and add a porch, and that's when it's like, whoa, what are you exactly doing? And it sort of did not happen with the lesser, if you will. But to be consistent, some rendering, and that's easy enough for folks to do, not blueprints that their builders.
No, but it's at least something that we can look at and say.
You can see your dimensions, and you can see.
And it can be, and you have a copy, and it's part of the. Christina, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, that's fine. I have a couple things actually, but.
Go ahead. Let her.
But as far as Mr. Carmody was saying, I kind of agree with that. I mean, sometimes we get something that's, looks like they drew it, with a crayon the night before. And other times there's like a beautiful, plan from an architect. So, and I would hesitate to put in the rules that you need to have like an architectural drawing, because I mean, it gets pricey for people to come here between their applications or, so I don't want to, put an undue burden on people either, but, so I don't know how maybe they can word that so that we get.
But there is supposed to be an undue burden. You're asking to break the rules, so you need to, if
Well, I guess I mean financially.
But I mean, financially is part of it. Our fee should be a lot more because it doesn't discourage them. They think they're going shopping for variances.
I disagree with that, but we'll leave that as a different.
But I'm just
discussion
saying, but I mean, it makes a difference if the folks just say, and literally I had, and I won't say which one, it was not the Parkview, this evening, actually couldn't wait to get here. No fears of, I hope they approve it, do you think I have a chance? It was, I'm so excited. Here's my crayon drawing. And so, again, you can interpret as you will, but I can do my part. I will explore for you what avenues that it can be actually written and put as part of sort of procedures, if you will. So that, again, we're sort of staying the same all the way through. And then the only things I had to say we're on that same note, we're following that all the way through, that if we're consistent with our motions, if you want me, I said to Joe, I would be happy to, some people like them scripted, so you can actually, instead of what do I have, just to help you along, if that helps to say.
Well, that was one of the other things that I have on my list here. The motions are getting very confusing for me.
They're changing.
I honestly, I think that tonight when you said to say minimum, I was actually hearing minimum is the opposite of what I think
I believe we should have been saying maximum.
I think what we meant was maximum, because we said I said 9.1 minimum as the side yard, which to me means you could have, I think that was confusing.
I think it should have said maximum too, but I was taking the advice from.
Minimum setback, minimum distance from your boundary is 9.61. At its minimum.
Yeah, I know, I get what you're saying, but.
Yeah, it can be, you can sort of look at it on it, but that's the actual language I was told to include.
So I was just a little.
It's a little more, it's like kind of like putting the punctuation point on something. It wasn't included in the past, it didn't need to be, but that makes it very clear, it's easier to defend because it is very subjective when you say, I have a 3-foot setback. At its minimum, or...
Making the motion, I felt like that was more confusing than the way we used to do it. But, and also with adding the other department's requirements, is that on us to do that? Like, will we have to say, somebody comes for a variance for a side yard, and then we have to say, and you have to follow what the health department's rules are, and you have to follow the building department's rules are, and you have to follow what the water, is that on us to do that?
As you saw the letter from Water and Sewer, July 3rd, it is a matter, of course, in all the planning and zoning apps, and you don't have to detail what they say, they'll say, comment as per whatever, it is always it will be part of the building permit anyway.
But I guess, I guess my question is...
They're asking to be included as conditions.
Yeah, so if it's part of the building requirement anyway, I guess, are we legally required to, are we just doing that to be nice to them?
They can build wrong, but they'd be in violation of their variance if they didn't adhere to the rules. So it's sort of a, you're getting it approved provided you do it.
Christina's trying to say is are we obligated to do the water and sewers and the health department's job? That's the way I take it.
Well, then I would just add to that, what if what they've mentioned is incorrect, and we said it's part of the approval?
Yeah, I don't have an answer for you. I felt that way since this started with this water department stuff.
When did that start?
Just recently, within probably the last 6-8 months, I think they've come, or maybe last year. Time goes by fast, but Christina's absolutely correct with that. What she's saying is like, it's almost like we're having to carry their water for them because maybe they can't do their job. I have no idea. It's just, one thing I hate doing other people's work when they're getting paid for it, and it just, I don't know if that's something we should do or if it's a burden on us.
I'd be happy to remove that from our responsibilities.
you know, if, I think one of them, the water and sewer department one said that it was an ordinance that they were.
Well, there is an ordinance.
So if there's an ordinance, why, I mean, then it already is, then that's what
Maybe
it
they
is.
should
It's
get
an
that
ordinance
looked into
already.
before they come before us.
There is that ordinance 577 with that inflow and influx because of the sewer, you know,
Right.
our thing. There is that. But as far as the rest with their requesting lateral printout and everything else, yeah, I don't know. That's something I guess we could talk to. I can give a call to Janice and ask her about it. We'll get a legal opinion on whether this is something we have to do or not.
But my thing with all that, and it's not that I'm trying to, you know, get on the water department or anything, that's not it at all. It's just, I think the motions are getting, to me, they're getting confusing, and I'm afraid that if I make a motion, I'm getting confused, trying to fit everything in and saying the specific wording, and I'm afraid I'm gonna slip up and say the wrong motion because I'm trying to fit all this stuff in that I'm not really 100% clear on. So that's just my concern with,
You're not alone.
with the motions.
You're not alone. No, I agree. Does anybody got any further to add?
I just have a question. You just brought up Janice Small. Is she invited to our next month's meeting? Is that?
We had talked about it, she would like to go over the open CHRO case, and where things stand with
What's that, Water
folks,
Street?
but I don't know if she wants to do that in September, and I understood when, one or more of you, were you with, Joe?
I believe I'll be here. I just looked at my calendar.
I mean, we certainly could, it would be a good place, because I believe we have the one application,
We got two for
or two,
next month,
okay.
isn't it?
But I mean, a short agenda, so it might be a nice place, I'll check with her to see if she's ready to be, because she did mention to me she would like to be included on to sort of update
And you know what?
everybody where things are.
We can ask her if everybody's gonna be here. I don't know what everybody's schedule is, but if everybody's gonna be here, we can ask her. If we do have her come next month, we can ask her some of the questions we have about that certain stuff about the water, sewer, and the health department. You know, like I said, I don't mind helping other departments out, but I agree, you know, we got enough to handle here. Let's look at all the, you know, what we're supposed to be adding, what we're supposed to be saying, just to make it all legal and binding so that it does stick. So like Amy says, they don't come for a 3 foot, and next thing you know, they're right 2 feet off, you know what I mean? And it's, well, I read it this way, so, anybody got anything else to add? Because I don't want to make this meeting drawn out any further than it has to be.
Well, just
One quick
Go ahead.
I was just going to say thank you, Mr. Chairman, for having this conversation, and Amy, it's helpful.
I'd like us to look as good as we can up here when we have the people come in front of us, so, and this last month was just very, very frustrating for me, and I know everybody else, there was quite a bit of frustration up here, and so just, you know, like to keep it where, you know, Amy's got our back, where she's getting us the stuff that she's supposed to get, and we understand what she's expecting of us, and we understand what, you know, she has to do and what she can do. So I just think if we all kind of get it in agreement, Amy knows what we're looking for, so even her job gets easier too, you know. So Amy, you got anything else you want to add?
Just, you know, thank you for that, because, you know, I am your staff. I got the dirty job, you know. I have to tell you, I have to be the hatchet person. You know, I'll present you with, it's to present you with some food for thought in the legalities of things. And, you know, I don't always agree either, or it may not make sense to me, but it's sort of the rules or what we have to do. And so I'm presenting that package, but I am here to support you and answer any questions or get answers. If I can't get those answers, then I'm certainly available. And if training too, just if, I know the Connecticut Federation of Planning and Zoning Agencies, you get their quarterly newsletter. That's got some good stuff in there. But they also offer a session, like $180 or something, which our office would certainly take care of. But I mean, I could set something up like that, which shows you sort of that mumbo jumbo side, the legality side, to get, again, protocols. So we're all on the same page, so we all know what we're supposed to do, but please know that I'm here to support you and to be your staff, not be contrary to you. You know, I'll take the ugly stuff. I mean, that's unfortunately.
No, I just think I think last month everybody kind of got confused about what we should have, what we shouldn't have, what you were
Absolutely.
looking for. And just to alleviate ever having that happen again, where we get frustrated and then, you know, 2 applications down, we're looking at something else that, you know, maybe the planning office thought was, yeah, this is what we're looking for, but yet we're looking at it going, well, what's, you know, but just to keep that from ever happening again, I just like, and keeps everybody that's looking for an application to come in front of us for a variance that, you know, they're all the same. That's all I'm looking for. I thank everybody for being here. Appreciate it. Anybody got anything else to add? No? Cynthia, thank you again.
You're welcome. Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.